What is going on, good people of YouTube? Welcome to probably one of my first videos that I've done on YouTube. This specific video is going to be going over Deadlands as an MMO. This is going to be a part of a concept series that is basically like something I do on the side, essentially. This one is I've already said Deadlands as an MMO, which MMO stands for massively multiplayer online game, which basically, like, imagine World of Warcraft. That's the biggest example. So Deadlands as an MMO, this is an interesting one. This is one that I've really thought about a lot. I've sat and I've thought about it, and it seems like it has a lot of potential. If you pull this off properly, if it really has a lot of potential. I would go as far to say might even maybe not beat out, but it will definitely compete with World of Warcraft itself. So, let's go over the setting of Deadlands. So, Deadlands is set in the Weird West of 1884, where the American frontier is warped by the Reckoning, which is a supernatural event unleashed in 1863 by a Sioux Nation shaman named Raven. Now, the Reckoning... hold on. Opening a conduit to malevolent entities known as the Reckoners. These entities are... The Reckoners are the Four Horsemen. They're the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. They feed on fear. They do things like they spawn absolute hell spawn, monsters like undead, and also they cause arcane phenomena. But the frontier remains a chaotic battleground of gunslingers, hucksters, and mad scientists, along with monstrous creatures. It's a very cool setting. The Civil War went on a lot longer than it did in real life, causing the Great Rail Wars, which the Great Rail Wars are essentially a bunch of rail barons. It's basically a rail war. God damn it, English is not good for me right now. A rail war race, essentially, to see who can build the most rails, essentially. I'm probably wrong about that, and you can grill me in the comments for being wrong about it. However, now let's move on. Let's go into the core gameplay features of this MMO. So, the world would span. It would span the American frontier. So, locations like, City of Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles. Is it Los Angeles? And California in this world has actually become, after the Reckoners' arrival, California has, when the Reckoners arrived, it caused this great quake, and it destroyed a lot of the world. Well, not a lot of the world, but a lot of the West. It caused a lot of destruction, but it really hit California hard because it essentially changed the geography of California. And it turned it into this canyon, this maze-like canyon that stretches out into the ocean. And there's a lot of it is covered in water, so you have to boat through it and stuff like that. So, the world would span, to places, the haunted mesa of the towns of Devil's Armpit, the Manitou's Bluff, yada yada yada, the Sioux Nations, you go down to Texas, stuff like that. So some of the dynamic environments that you can be in, right? So it can include things like ghost rock mines that you can go into. When I imagine this, I imagine it being kind of like the mines from Elden Ring, where you go in and there's people mining and stuff like that. You could even go in and mine your own ghost rock. Now, ghost rock in this setting is essentially, it's a supernatural material that's made out of the it's made out of the ghosts of the damned, the spirits of the damned, you know, and so they take ghost rock and they use it to power steampunk technology, or steampunk-esque technology. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool concept for a game. So you have ghost rock mines, you have cursed forests, and these would be essentially hostile areas where you'll find monsters and stuff like that. There's abandoned railroads, along with day and night cycles. Now this would be an interesting part of the game, because this would cause monsters to spawn that you won't see during the day, so like vampires and stuff like that, werewolves even. And when they appear, they're a lot stronger than your average monster. Well, you know, not incredibly. It depends on where you are and what level you are, because there's level areas. But they're for the area they're in, they're pretty powerful. They're pretty strong. And werewolves too. And you could actually have it where there could be certain events, like a world event, where, let's say, nightfall hits, and now all the players in the area have to protect this certain town or settlement from these creatures. And when you participate in these events, you can gain XP, stuff like that. You can gain new gear, stuff like that. It would be pretty cool. You know, you could participate, and you don't. If you're like, oh, I don't want to do this right now, you don't have to. It's just an optional world event that you can participate in. Now, next up, we have players. You can have it where players can explore on foot, on horseback, or via ghost rock powered steam wagons or trains. However, you could have it like in Red Dead 2, where you can basically go and control trains. That's how I'm imagining it. You can travel between towns, which when you travel it can feel perilous, because you can get ambushed by bandits, or there can be straight up just supernatural things that kind of try to stop you in your tracks and take you out. Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. There'd be a bit of risk involved in it. You know, you'll be riding down, and then all of a sudden a freaking devil dog shows up, and like, now you gotta fight the devil dog. And you could do like horse combat and stuff like that. And I imagine the combat in this game would be similar to the combat in like Red Dead Redemption. Specifically Red Dead Redemption 2, where you have all these guns and you can dual wield pistols. You know, and you can carry like basically 2 rifles. So like on your shoulder you can have like a sniper rifle, on the other shoulder you can have like a shotgun, stuff like that. It'd be pretty cool. And there will be a magic system. Well, actually, no. We'll get into that further down the line. Character creation. So players create characters using a simplified version of the Savage Worlds mechanics for an MMO. So attributes like agility, smarts, spirit, strength, stuff like that. And then you have skills too. So you can do things like shooting, fighting, weird science, and these are assigned via a point buy system. So basically you spend points on attributes and skills. And as you go in the world and you kill monsters and you get loot and whatnot, you'll level up, you'll get more points, and you can have a specialized build too. Like, that's how I imagine this. It's like a specialized build. Depending, it can't be like anything too crazy. It would have to be accurate to your specific class, your specific archetype that you decide to play as. And so some of the archetypes would be things like Gunslinger, which is fast draw, sharpshooter, Huckster, arcane spellcasters who use poker hands to cast hexes, mad scientists, so inventors of ghost rod powered gadgets from lightning guns to mechanical limbs, stuff like that. Blessed, which are your holy warriors wielding miracles to banish evil. Shamans, Native American mystics communing with spirits for buffs and rituals. Harrowed, that's your undead. Wrestling with the inner Manitou. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. You have hindrances. So, you have things like bad luck, code of honor, and then you have edges. So edges can be hindrances, or not, God, what am I saying? Edges are not hindrances. Don't forget what I just said. Edges are essentially abilities. So quick draw is an edge, and arcane background is an edge, which can add a bit of roleplay depth and mechanical bonuses. With hindrances granting bennies, which bennies are in-game reroll tokens. However, in this one, I imagine a benny would... Let's say for a benny, the bennies in this game can be used basically as an assurance for if, let's say, you get loot and it's not what you want, you can spend a benny and it will randomize that loot, or with a chance of potentially getting the loot that you want. If you spend an average benny, it'll just randomize the loot, because there's different types of bennies. There's like your average benny, then there's like a good benny, and then there's a great benny. So if you spend a great benny, it will guarantee you, like, you'll get better loot. It's basically a guarantee. If you spend a good benny, it's a higher chance. An average benny, it just randomizes the loot with a chance of getting better loot. And as you go into the world, as you go around the world, you can gain bennies. It's a pretty cool system. I mean, there's a little bit of fleshing out to be done about it, stuff like that. Now we get into the combat and mechanics. So, the way I'm looking at this is it's, again, fast, furious, and fun. It's a fast, furious, and fun system. Like I said before, I imagine the combat being like the direct combat, so gunfights are similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, where you have different guns and yada yada yada. You can do, because I know that this mechanic is used, like in the original tabletop Deadlands. This is used as it's fast, furious, and fun, but there's a lot of like risk to it. Me personally, I would lessen the risk quite a bit, because I don't think people are going to want to play the game if they're getting fucked every time they draw a card as a huckster and they get a black joker and it completely screws them. I don't think that... I'm not for that. It's got to be fast, furious, and fun. with a bit of risk, but not a lot. Like, the risk is, like, very slight. Like, there's a chance you could mess up, but it's not that big. It's very low. You can do, like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, you can have a dueling system that allows one-on-one showdowns with a tense minigame of timing and feints. So you could do like a duel with like another player, and there's a lot of stuff you can do. You draw your gun and you can take that person out and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. There's a lot more fleshing out to be done. It's not exactly fleshed out. It's just kind of in the prototype phase. You know what I mean? Now, next up, another one. Next up, we have the factions and the social dynamics. So, players align with the players. So, instead of it being like World of Warcraft, where it's like Horde and Alliance, and that's it. That's all you got. And then there's like smaller sub-factions, so like the humans are a faction, the dwarves are a faction, stuff like that. Players can align with factions like the Union, Texas Rangers, Pinkerton Agency, and other independent factions like Black River Railroad or the Cult of the Reckoners. The Cult of the Reckoners would be more of a... That would be more of like a thing you join when you go rogue. Like if you go rogue in the game, basically if you join the Cult of the Reckoners, you're like a bad guy. You're a bad guy and stuff like that. And there's been games that have done stuff like that, similar stuff like that. Like there's one game, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'd have to look it back up. It's essentially a game. It's similar to like Diablo, where it's multiplayer, and you can actually decide to just be evil, and then your character name becomes red, and now you're essentially like an outlaw. I'm imagining that as a kind of a similar thing with this, where you can become evil, and essentially you're an outlaw. You're rogue, and it would be kind of more difficult because it would add a bit of difficulty, but it's not going to be like extremely punishing. It's going to be like, you're not going to be able to walk into towns, and if you do, you're going to do it with a disguise. You can disguise and stuff like that. You're going to be recognized. People are going to recognize you, and you're going to have a name out for you. And faction choices can influence the player storyline, and quests, and also potentially PvP dynamics. So, you could implement territorial control mechanics. So, like, there's similar to like World of Warcraft, where like when you go to Outland, there's different types of like areas that are controlled by either Horde or Alliance, and it's something similar to that, where it's like, you control this certain faction controls this type of territory, so they have, and you can also help a faction, and you can have faction quest lines where you help the faction that you're a part of. Really cool. Really, really cool. And then your faction has control of this specific area, which has this ghost rock mine, which will help your faction. Yeah, that's about it. And then you can also have social hubs like saloons, which allow players to gamble, trade, and form posses, which are guilds. And the way that posses would work is you have two different types of posses. So you have your small-time posses, and your small-time posses are like Small time posses, which is essentially that's like your friends. You and like 5 of your friends go and, you know, collect bounties and, you know, fight bosses. And then you have big time posses where you're getting like 30, 40 people in a posse, and it's essentially like its own sub-faction in a way. You know, that's how I'm imagining. And you can do things like, you can have guild versus guild PvP. That would be cool. Guild versus guild. And depending on like what happens, like you could have it where 2 guilds fight each other, and there would have to be rules implemented in. So like, you know, it would have to be, you know, both of the guilds would have to agree, or both of the leaders of the guilds would have to agree to do like a guild war. That way you're not getting into, your guild's not getting pulled into conflicts all the time because some dude decided to attack this other dude, and this dude happened to be a part of this guild, and then it's like, yeah, stuff. There's going to be some limitations to it, you know, or not some limitations, but some, like, you know, safety measures, you know. It'd be pretty cool. It'd be, you know, it's cool. You have your. So next up we have your supernatural and horror elements. So the Reckoner's influence can create dynamic events such as zombie outbreaks, Wendigo attacks, and spectral storms that reshape the landscape. This would be cool because you could have it where, like, you know, like zombie outbreaks, all of a sudden zombies are everywhere and you gotta kill them, and it would be like a world event where, like, you know, you have to protect this certain area from this zombie outbreak and stuff like that. It'd be pretty cool. It would be pretty cool. And then during the nighttime it gets, you know, during the nighttime, like, vampires come out and werewolves come out, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You have fear levels, which this is within the actual tabletop Deadlands game itself. Fear levels, basically, that's like a danger level. So fear levels affect regions, making high fear areas more dangerous. Makes it more dangerous with tougher enemies. This basically could be used as like a level, like a certain area is this certain level. Like, you can't, if you're not high enough level to come to this one area, then you shouldn't be here. Like, you just shouldn't. You're gonna get destroyed. It's not gonna be a fun time for you. You don't want us to be in this area. You know what I mean? Yeah, tougher enemies, so like you could have aerial visuals like blood red skies, whispering winds, you know, it becomes overcast and it's like just very gloomy and, you know, just not looking good, stuff like that. And then you can also do things like, for, you know, the horror element or the supernatural element, players can confront servitors. So they're basically servitors are lieutenants of the Reckoners in instance dungeons. So dungeons and world bosses and raids. I can't say instance. I can't fucking say that right now. Yeah, you could do. Yeah, like you'll go to a dungeon and you'll fight like this high-ranking dude who works for one of the Reckoners, and it'd be, you know, like let's say you fight this lieutenant and he's a lieutenant of Pestilence, let's say. Well, this guy is gonna infect you, and he's gonna debuff your character, and it's gonna be one hell of a boss, and you better bring your A game if you're gonna beat this guy. and it's going to be intense, and it's going to be engaging, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be an intense boss, like, we're talking Dark Souls level. That's what I'm imagining for this. Dark Souls level bosses for this game. Intense, fast, and fun. That's what I'm imagining. You can have... So, to move on, you can have crafting. So you can... Crafting, and there's also an economy within the game. So you can have Ghost Rock as a core resource used for crafting weapons, gadgets, and vehicles. Players can mine it, trade it, steal it from rivals, which would be diabolical. But, you know, why not? So as a mad scientist, you can craft unique inventions, while other classes can create ammunition and potions and talismans, which buff and stuff like that. You can have a player-driven economy that thrives in trading posts with bartering and negotiation skills influencing deals. This would be interesting. I don't know how it would work, but I'm just imagining there being some kind of like economic collapse within the game. I don't know if you'd want to add that, honestly, but who knows? You know, it could. I don't know. It'd have to be more fleshed out, and you know, stuff like that. I don't know. Now you can have for the story and the quests itself. The main storyline follows the Reckoners, which their influence is growing, with players uncovering clues about Raven's ritual and the Morgana effect. So Morgana effect is a time-rippling phenomenon from the lore itself. So quests can range from small-scale Savage Tales, so like Savage Tale quests, so like basically hunting a werewolf in a mining town, to full-on plot point campaigns like stopping a Reckoner servitor's plan to unleash a ghost rock apocalypse and stuff like that. Choices can impact the world with branching narratives affecting faction control and fear levels. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool to have it. Next up we have PvP and events. So, open world PvP in contested zones like Ghost Rock mines and border towns with faction-based objectives. So, open world, so like, it really depends, because you would have, depending on the server you're in, this would be in effect. Because there would be, it would follow the World of Warcraft formula where there's PvP and PvE environments, you know, and so it really depends on what server you're in. But yes, there can be open world PvP, which makes certain zones contested zones. You can have dueling arenas in major cities for competitive showdowns. You can have server-wide events like a Reckoner-driven Fear Storm, which would require players to band together to protect settlements. Yeah, man, it's cool. Like, you could have stuff like that, and you could have stuff like that and not have it be a burden. You know. Again, as I said, if this is pulled off properly and correctly, it can be, like, in its prime. I truly believe a game like this is gonna be up there with the likes of World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2 and stuff like that. I truly believe that. This game has a lot of potential as an MMO. That's why I'm making, it's great, man. I'm a dreamer. I'm a nerd. Like, I sit and I think about this stuff, and it's really, like, I love it, man. I really do. Yeah, I mean, I assume. So some of the platforms, like this can be on. Honestly, this could be on PC console, and it can have cross-platform play. If we're being honest, a game like this, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of, like, I don't know the ins and outs of, like, stuff like platforms. I don't know if, like, maybe technology would have to advance to have something like this, but I have no clue. I just don't know, if we're being honest. You can have expansions in this game, and there's a lot of things that you could do. There's a lot of lore. The lore is extremely expansive. So you could have, like, you know, every 1 to 2 years they release a new expansion, which releases a new part of the map, new gear, new archetypes to play as, stuff like that, new dungeons, and, you know, all the nitty-gritty, everything you could ask for. Yeah, I mean, you could have it built in, like, Unreal Engine, which would be good for, like, large-scale environments and seamless multiplayer. I'm imagining the soundtrack, which is gonna be, like, a mix of, like, spaghetti western themes, haunting ambient tracks, and supernatural soundscapes, stuff like that, with voice acting for key NPCs and stuff like that. I don't know. I just love this idea as a game. I just really do. I love it. I really do. And if you pull this off properly, again, it's going to be one of the greatest MMOs if it's pulled off properly. I truly believe that. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. This is going to be truly a masterclass of MMO if this is pulled off properly and it's in its prime. But yeah, with you could pull from the, like, this is gonna heavily pull from the lore. The lore integration is going to be a main focal point of this game. It's going to pull from the lore extremely, and you can, you know. And I really want the lore to really carry the story. Yeah, I want it to carry like 90% of the story, 95% of the story. I want the lore to carry it. And you can add different things, like you could add, you know, quests that aren't a part of the lore and stuff like that. And it would still fit in the game. I truly, I believe that. Yeah, man, I just think this is a great game. Like, this could be a great game. You know, you could have, also, if, you could have, for the community engagement, you could do, like, regular developer live streams or community-driven events. So, like, you could have player-run saloons within the game. You could have mod support for custom adventures using, you know, well, it depends on the mod support. It really does. But, like, you could have servers that are, like, specifically, like, you could have roleplay servers. You could have player versus player servers, or player versus environment servers, and yeah, it would just be cool. But also, one thing I didn't think of actually. What is it? You could have. Man, you could have turf wars, bro. Like, damn, you could have turf wars. Straight up, turf wars. It's crazy, man. But hey, what do y'all think? If you were gonna make a Deadlands MMO, how would you do it? What would you do? What would you add? Write it down in the comments, and make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so that you will be updated every time I upload a new video. And let me know. Put suggestions in the comments on, you know, what you would like next. And with yeah, and that's it. See ya. I'll catch you in the next one.